So we're gonna get started. I'm here with the phenomenal Mr. Andre Davis. Mr. Davis is like wildly known for his stage plays, his beautiful voice. It's not even just your common R&B voice. This is old school, like let me sip some champagne, some wine, get a bubble bath popping, and listen to these songs, okay?
I appreciate that.
You're welcome. So, Mr. Davis, I want you to tell viewers the reason that we're on tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. So, first of all, thank you again for having me. And we're on tonight to talk about my stage play, the #1 urban stage play, Man of the House, which is coming to the Soho Playhouse in New York City for the entire month of October in recognition of National Domestic Violence Awareness Month.
Will you marry me? Yeah.
Marry you?
Yes, babe, look at it.
Marry you?
Yes, look at it. I know, it's gorgeous, I know. I know.
You gotta be kidding me. You trying to be funny? First of all, you coming here with this grand old speech about how you want to do better. No, let's face that, sweetheart. You will do better if you're going to be with me. You disgust me. You know what? Let me ask you a question. What kind of man lives off his woman? Let me help you. None. Because
Okay, so with that particular play, it is a little different than what we traditionally see. So can you expound on that?
Absolutely. So, Man of the House tackles domestic abuse, but in this production, the man is actually the victim as opposed to the abuser. So the plays that I've been in and that I normally see, they have where the female is being abused by a boyfriend or a husband and she falls in love with the next door neighbor at the end of the play and then they run off into the sunset. So I just had, the idea to show the other side of that coin and what would it look like if the man was being abused and the abuse was more verbal and emotional as opposed to physical.
So what was the creative process behind the play?
Honestly, I'm going to be extremely honest. I literally one day sat down and said, I know I want to start doing my own productions. What would I write about? And I thought about this play that I had done in the city that tackled domestic abuse. And I said, I wonder what that would be like if I told it, from the other side. So I just got in front of my laptop and started writing. And this one, I would say probably in about 4 hours, I had most of the script. It just started pouring out. So the process was faster than normal because my other plays don't go that fast. But this one was pretty quick.
I'm intrigued because like I said before we started the interview, you have such a phenomenal voice. And to just transition from R&B to stage plays, that had to be huge. So what made you get into that?
So funny enough, I actually started doing stage plays first. And some of my friends, they went to Berklee School of Music. They came back and they were looking to demo songs to sell them to different artists. So they asked me to come into the studio to demo some of these songs. My manager at the time, Darren Dowdy, he CEO of Razak Hair Care Products. He was the connect that was going to get these songs to different artists. And so I recorded the first song. They asked me to come back in to do a second song. And while I was in the booth, he just had the idea to start his own indie label. And he asked if I would consider being the first artist off of the label.
Wow.
And I'm like, yeah, well, I'm not doing nothing else. So that's how I always wanted to sing anyway. Even with the stage plays, I did sing in all of them. But that's how I transitioned from theater to music. Then, the indie deal, it was great while it lasted. All good things come to an end.
Right.
And then I went right back to my roots, right back to theater.
Right back to theater. Now,
Yep.
even with that, you toured with some like you toured with the freaking Temptations. Like, let's just not downplay it. All good things come to an end, okay? So, what was that experience like? Like, you was just gonna brush that under the rug? No, we're gonna talk about it.
No, so you know what? With this indie deal, I was blessed with a resume. I'll say, got to work with some great people, like you said, the Temptations. I was able to open up for like some of the legends, Patti LaBelle, Frankie Beverly, and Maze. And then I was able to work with people like Jaheim and Tank and Joe. So it was like a who's who on my resume. Super blessed, and every time I was able to step on the stage, especially back then, it was really I was getting paid to learn because I didn't know. I was very new. Right. And if I'm going to be completely transparent, a lot of times I didn't feel like I was even qualified to be on these stages with some of the people that I was opening for. Right. So it literally was me learning the whole process in front of these huge audiences. Like normally you start in the small clubs, right, and then you build up to that. I started the opposite. I started out on big stages, learning in front of people, and then went to the clubs after that. So, but no, every time I was able to open up for someone, it was just a great experience. I learned a lot of what to do. Sometimes I've learned what not to do. Right. I've seen some things that worked and some things that didn't work, and it all helped to craft who I am as an artist today. Okay, so you kind of took one of my questions. You already expounded a little bit, but we're going to deep dive into it anyway. So how intrinsic were those lessons that you transferred it from performing as a singer to on stage plays? Oh man, I'll give you an example. So I will never forget this day for as long as I live. We were doing a comedy show for Wendy Williams, and it was in the Bronx, and there were not many singers. I was one singer, and Life Jennings was the singer, and Life at that time was extremely popular, so everyone knew him. And so the show started off, and the comedian after comedian, everyone is drinking, and then here I come, right? I have a 20-minute set. I have background dancers and everything, right? But we're doing all original material. And so after the first song, people are clapping like, hey, you know, second song, they're clapping. The third song, they're like, I start to see people sink back in the chair. And I'm like, God, please don't let me get booed. Please don't let me get booed. Because again, you're in the Bronx. It's a comedy show. They're not really coming to hear no singing. Right. And then I'm not doing anything that they know. So the lesson that I took from that as a new artist was to always give them something that they know, that they can sing along with. And it allows them to open up to you a lot quicker than you trying to force your new material on them, especially when it's not a show that they've come to hear singing anyway. So that was part. Huge lesson. I did not get booed. I made it off before they started, but I felt it. It was coming. Oh, okay. But you know, that crowd was the Apollo crowd. I don't even know. Absolutely. And then speaking of familiarity, you have headliners in Man of the House. So how were you able to select this lineup of talent? Yeah, you know, so, and that too, being my first stage play, it's just been a blessing to be able to work with some of these artists. So the first two that I was able to use, Willie Taylor from Day 26 and Christopher Williams came in for a weekend. Learned a lot of lessons using celebrity talent, which made me a better producer. Okay. And then as we went, I knew Monifah was around the area, and I wanted to bring in some people that had a higher profile to help out with the publicity for the play. So ironically enough, she was in a stage play in Harlem. Oh, wow. So I went to see it, because I'd seen her act before. It was a small part, but she did a good job. But I wanted to see her again, and she did an excellent job in this play. So sent the inquiry over to her manager. She came in to see Man of the House. We put it up. It was at Rutgers in Newark, New Jersey. And she came through with some people just to see it. She read the script, but she wanted to see it on its feet. And after she saw it, she said, "I'm sold. I'm in." So that was a blessing. J-Boog came about because we were doing a high school, Columbia High School in South Orange, New Jersey. And so I'm asking a lot of my friends, like the females, like around that age, who would you want to see? So they start throwing out people. So I'm like, well, let me just send an inquiry over to Boogie's people and see what happens. They responded. He came over, and I'll never forget. You could tell he was a little hesitant coming in because, again, he was like the biggest name at that point. And maybe 20 minutes into the rehearsal, he stopped everyone and just said, "Listen, I'm a film actor. I see that y'all clearly know what y'all doing. Just bear with me." And so that was a great thing. And from there, man, he's just been excellent. They all have been, honestly. I've been blessed with some really great celebrity talent.
Yeah, you've been doing this since 2014 until now. So you've built that resume that, okay, I learned from the mistakes of my past. So like we bigger and better now. So how does that make you feel as a producer and a playwright to get to this point?
Oh man, absolutely incredible. Absolutely incredible. Every day that I'm able to continue to do this, knowing from where I started, just reaffirms the fact that I'm literally walking in my calling and my purpose on this earth. And for me, there's just no greater feeling than that. Right. To start this production off, and I literally, when we first started Man of the House, I may have had $150 to my name.
Oh, wow.
Like I had zero money, but I just kept hearing God say go. And I trusted him enough to go. And here we are 8 years later. We just celebrated our 8th year anniversary last week. In August made 8 years. So there's just no greater feeling than that for me.
Congratulations. Well, you're a number one showstop. So that has to mean something. So
absolutely.
You said you made a few blimps in the beginning. Can you tell me one of the major lessons that you learned that serves you now?
Sure. So the weekend I had Christopher Williams and Willie Taylor come in. I did not have, being a small production, you don't have a lot of money for marketing. Right. And so I brought these acts in, but I didn't have the money to market it. So I'm thinking just putting their face on the flyer, people are going to flock. It's not how this works. Right. You have to be able to market it and to get it in front of people. And I lost a lot of money that weekend.
Wow.
I lost a lot of money that weekend. That was an expensive lesson, but it was a lesson that I'm glad I learned in the beginning. Right. As opposed to doing it now. Now I know the importance of marketing, and it's well beyond just giving flyers to your church. And that's great to start with, but once it goes beyond that, how do you reach the people? Right. So these are lessons that I learned early, thank God, that's helping me today.
So what's the goal? What's the overall goal? It's kind of like P-Valley started out as a play and now it's on TV. What is your end game for this stage play?
Sure. So after we do the run in October next year, I want to take Man of the House on a national tour. And that tour is going to include stopping at colleges. So we've done colleges and universities, and we use the play as domestic abuse education. And it's just a different way to talk about it. And it's been, the responses and the reception. Honestly, I'm going to be honest, I was nervous going into colleges because, these are kids, they don't really have a filter. If they don't like it, they're not going to fake it. And the responses have been incredible. So I want to do a national tour where we're stopping at colleges to use it as a domestic abuse educational tool, and then also putting it up in these cities, whichever cities we may be in, to the general public as well. And lastly, after we do that, that'll conclude the stage play portion. I already have a film written for Man of the House, so we'll be putting that on the screen.
Congratulations, big ups.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
So what do you think the statistics are now that you like invested in this? It's not just a project that you say, hey, I feel like I want to do this, but I don't know if this is going to be the course. You've done it like from 2014 until now, so obviously you're invested. What do you think the statistics are with men and abuse now?
So, you know what, the funny thing about that is, and even we're talking with domestic abuse organizations, it's so underreported.
Wow.
That it's hard to even get, because so when the man is the one that is actually being abused, a lot of times, not a lot of times, most times, there's a stigma put on that so that they don't actually report it.
Right.
You know, I remember when we first started, those numbers were about 39%, and it's jumped since then. But still, they will tell you that these numbers are so underreported that it's hard to really get a true grasp on that because of the stigma of being abused. You know, it's like they're looking at you like you're letting your woman abuse you, or you're a punk, or, you know, so it's abuse on top of the abuse, basically.
Right.
So the numbers are so underreported, it's really hard to get a grasp on that, an accurate number anyway.
Well, yeah, you playing into pridefulness, egos, and macho. You know, that's like, okay, I can't let my friends know, even though they probably know that this is going on. So that is an interesting thing, especially with you taking it to the colleges, because that's probably where you're going to see the most effects of it in colleges. You know, men don't want to hit women back. They don't want to disrespect them because they were raised correctly. Right. That's the difference. So I think this is a very good thing that you're doing and have done from 2014 until now. Whoop, whoop.
Thank you. Thank you.
So are you working on any other projects?
Yeah, so I have a short film out right now. It's called Attack from All Angles. So we did win for the Kwanzaa Film Festival for Best Short Film. Right now we are an official selection in the Hip Hop Film Festival happening in New York City actually right now through the next week. So that's going through the film festival circuit. We just taped my second short film, The Breakdown, back in May. So that's wrapped and it's going through the editing process now. That's on that side. And then as an artist, I have an EP coming out. I'm opening up the Cap Jazz Fest down at the Hard Rock Casino in Atlantic City in September. So getting the EP ready to support that. It is good to be me right now. It's good to be me right now.
It's a blessing to be you right now.
Absolutely.
Well, I was watching something. It was, you know, everything is online now. Church, like anything that's inspirational, anything that's not inspirational, it's online. So I was watching a sermon where one of the ministers said, it's best to walk in purpose than passion. What are your thoughts on that?
Wow. Yeah, I mean, for me, that's good. Yeah, because honestly, sometimes your passion may not be what you're meant to do. You know what I mean? And so for me, the way that God has opened doors for me, allowed me to really fully understand that I was walking in my purpose. A lot of times we may be passionate about something, but that's not really what we're called to do, even if we can actually do them. So I absolutely agree. It's better to walk in your purpose. And even with walking in my purpose, there's been a lot of rejection, a lot of disappointment, because that's just the name of the game in entertainment.
Right.
But again, to wake up and to really know that at the end of the day, this is why God put me on this earth. There's just no better feeling than that. There's no better feeling than that for me.
Outside of being what the people said you would be, and he called you to be something else.
Absolutely.
That's game changer.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I have 2 more questions. I'm sorry?
No, that was good. What pastor said that? I want to go back and watch the sermon now.
I think Stephen Futrick said that.
I'm gonna look that up.
That's not fair. I'm passionate about this. What you mean God said I need to be in my purpose? But yeah, so what? My next question is, because you're an authentic R&B singer, not even R&B, rhythm and blues. You use jazz, you use funk, you use all types of different influences as a backdrop to your authentic sound. So it's safe to say that you may not, it's not that you don't like music today, but you definitely have an opinion about it. So tell me your thoughts on R&B today.
Yeah, so you know what? I give a lot of credit to anyone who's actually doing it because it's just not easy.
Right.
Regardless of, now for me, my preference absolutely, like my biggest inspirations were Donny Hathaway and Stevie Wonder. So that's the type of music that I gravitate to, that I absolutely love. But again, I give so much. It's not easy. This is such a hard industry. And so for anyone that's doing it, I don't, to each his own. If I don't like it, I'm not going to knock it. I just will go and listen to what I do like. So with that being said, I definitely prefer even 90s R&B. I saw a t-shirt that said, if it doesn't feel like 90s R&B, I don't want it. I love that. You know what I mean?
Right.
Today's R&B, I guess if there was one thing that I would say is that a lot of people sound alike. And so I would love to see more variety. You knew who these singers were when they sang. Like,
Right.
you were not confusing Jodeci with anyone. You know what I mean? You were not confusing Joe with anyone. Like, it was unique, and everybody was dope, but they were still unique.
Right.
And so I would love to see more of that uniqueness. But yeah, other than that.
So I was like, I got nothing. Okay.
Yeah, I'm like, listen, if you like it, I love it. That's just me. I'm not.
You must have grew up on the montage. If you don't have nothing nice to say, don't say anything at all.
We're in the same boat.
Period, Pooh. So the last question is, where can people listen to your latest music and follow you?
Sure. So I'm everywhere at A Diamond ENT. So that's my website, my Instagram, my Twitter, which I need to be more active on, and my Facebook
likes
as
Twitter.
well.
Nobody old.
I'm terrible. They're like, you have to do this, you have to do that. I'm like, listen.
Nobody likes Twitter.
Yeah. So, but I'm everywhere at A Diamond ENT. So. You can listen to my music through my website. There's a ticket link, so if you want to purchase tickets for Man of the House Stageplay happening in October, it's right on the website, and again on all my social medias as well.
One last question: the Man of the House, is it family friendly? I know it's about domestic violence or domestic abuse with men, but can people bring their kids there to watch the play?
Yeah, so we've had kids as young as 8 and 9 come and see the play, and they loved it. For me, I mean, there's no profanity in the play. So I think it really would depend on what the parent is willing to allow their kid to experience.
Right.
But yeah, we've had, like I said, kids as young as 8 come to see it, and they loved it. So yeah.
All right, cool beans. So thank you so much. You were a joy, and I wish you it's not even the best of luck because you have already been blessed. So it's just you continuing to walk in your purpose and do what God called you to do. So I just hope that the road is clear for you to take off and do everything that you need to do with this play.
And thank you so much. I really appreciate the time. Thank you.
You're welcome.